You know, sometimes it's the small details that really stick with you, the ones that send a chill down your spine.
Like what?
Like this bit in the book about a midwife, Elena Morales. A doctor asks her about a weird lizard bite on a baby,
Okay.
and the word she uses for the lizard, raptor.
Hmm.
But in her local language, that word means kidnapper.
Whoa. Kidnapper, not just an animal bite.
Exactly. Someone who comes in the night, takes a child. Suddenly, it's not just a random event, is it? It hints at something deliberate, something darker.
That really shifts the whole tone, doesn't it? From maybe an ecological anomaly to something, sinister.
Absolutely. And that feeling, that sense of hidden danger beneath the surface, that's really what drives the book we're exploring today. It's all about science, huge ambition, and, well, the completely unpredictable side of things.
Right. So our goal here is to really dig into the core ideas from this book, pull out the key insights, the stuff that makes you think. We'll look at the big dream, the amazing tech, but also the warnings people ignored and how it all started to unravel.
And hey, as we go through this, remember you can dive even deeper. Check out Mindful Moments and our YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, they've got some great AI book analysis over there. Really good for sparking more reflection, digging into these themes after you listen here.
Definitely worth checking out.
So where does the story really kick off?
Well, the book starts with this massive dream, this incredible vision, but it's built on what the book calls secret ambition. It introduces International Genetic Technologies, Inc., InGen.
Right, InGen, out of Palo Alto. And the author points out something important right away about how this kind of genetic research was happening.
Yeah, that it was being done, and I quote, in secret and in haste and for profit. A big contrast to older, more open scientific discussion.
And that profit motive is key. John Hammond, the guy behind it all, wasn't just exploring science for science's sake. He had a huge goal, a theme park.
A massive one. The book says he raised nearly $1 billion, and he was aiming for, what, $7 billion in revenue a year by '93?
Just staggering numbers. It was all about capitalizing on this incredible idea. Less about the pure discovery, maybe.
And we get these early hints that maybe Hammond's, let's say, presentation of things wasn't always entirely accurate.
Like that miniature elephant story, created by Norman Atherton.
Yeah, but the book clarifies it wasn't really genetic engineering like you'd think. It was hormones, artificial wombs, that kind of thing. And the result...
It acted like a vicious rodent, right.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even duplicate it.
Exactly. Like a really buggy beta test, but Hammond spins it like a breakthrough. It kind of sets a pattern.
It does. And to build this park, InGen was gathering resources like crazy. Cray supercomputers, the XMPs, for all the data.
That island off Costa Rica, Island Nublar.
And tons of amber. You know, for the ancient DNA trapped inside those fossilized insects.
But InGen wasn't alone in this game, were they? The book brings in another company, Biosyn Corporation.
Right, Biosyn. Also chasing genetic engineering. And their methods seem, well, maybe even sketchier.
Yeah, we meet Lewis Dodgson from Biosyn. He's the one who gets Nedry, the park's programmer who feels ripped off, to steal embryos.
Using that shaving cream can device. Seems almost low-tech for such high-stakes espionage.
It does, and the book makes it clear Biosyn isn't some ethical hero either. It mentions a previous test they did in Chile that messed things up for local farmers.
So it's not just InGen maybe cutting corners. It suggests a broader pattern in this whole new industry, speed and profit over maybe thinking through all the consequences.
Definitely raises the question early on. Can these companies actually handle this kind of power responsibly?
A big question. But InGen wasn't totally unchecked. They were getting heat from the EPA, specifically a guy named Morris.
And that pressure is why Hammond decides he needs outsiders to come look the park. Independent inspections to make things look good.
Which brings in our main group of experts, Alan Grant, the paleontologist.
Famous for his work on duck-billed dinosaur nesting behavior, yeah.
Ellie Sattler, the paleobotanist. Ian Malcolm.
The mathematician, chaos theory guy. He becomes super important.
Oh, yeah. And Donald Gennaro, the lawyer for InGen. Always thinking about the liability, it seems.
What's kind of weird is Grant actually had this old, vague connection to InGen already.
Oh, right. The book mentions that $12,000 check from way back in '84 for consulting on something called juvenile hyperspace.
Yeah, in Costa Rica. He remembered it being super weird, but nothing about an island then. The book just drops it in there. Another hint of InGen's strange, maybe long-running activities.
And those strange activities might connect to those incidents back in Costa Rica, the ones that got the EPA involved.
Like that baby bitten by the lizard, the one the grandmother said was green with brown stripes.
And the midwife, Elena Morales, who called it a raptor, She reported it as ENTIS, sudden infant death syndrome.
Which tells you people were maybe scared to report what was really happening. There were other incidents too, apparently, always involving sleeping kids.
Yeah, the local doctor, Gutierrez, initially thought maybe it was just an allergic reaction to a common basilisk lizard.
But the pattern, the descriptions, the sleeping children, it just didn't quite add up. That suspicion is a big part of why Hammond had to bring Grant and the others in.
So they arrive on Isla Nublar. What are their first impressions?
Well, they see the impressive stuff, like the safari lodge with the glass pyramids, but right alongside it, piles of lumber, electrical conduit, signs of ongoing, maybe frantic construction.
And that fence.
Oh, yeah. The 12-foot steel-barred fortress fence around the lodge itself. Grant notes it wasn't in the original plans he saw.
That's a pretty big red flag right there. Suggests containment is a much bigger issue than they're letting on.
Inside, it's more of the same. The visitor building looks high-tech robot T-Rex, Mesozoic world exhibits.
But incomplete. Wires hanging out, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It feels like a flashy facade over something still very much under construction. A marketing pitch, more than a finished park.
And then they get to the heart of it, the genetics lab with Dr. Wu.
Right. Crazed supercomputers humming away, gene sequencers running flat out. The book describes the process. They're analyzing DNA, but only the bits that differ from modern animals.
Trying to patch the ancient, damaged DNA, right? Like fixing a puzzle super fast with computers.
Yeah, but here's a crucial bit Wu admits. They're not working with the whole DNA strand, just those differing sections they can identify.
And how does that square with what Nedry knew about the system?
Well, Nedry noticed the system was designed to handle 3 billion fields of data. He figured that meant they had to be analyzing the complete strand, something he thought was impossible for just one private company.
So there's a disconnect. Either the system was overbuilt or Wu's team took shortcuts, maybe didn't use the full capability, relying on speed over complete understanding.
Seems like it. And Wu himself talks about the consequences. Sometimes, months into development, untoward happens.
Bugs in the sequence.
Yeah, bugs. And they have to go back to the drawing board or make new versions. It's chilling treating living animals like software that needs patching.
And Arnold, in the control room, his job is literally tracking which version of each animal is out there. It's such a reductionist way to view life.
Hammond reinforces that attitude, too. He dismisses universities, thinks all the important stuff now happens in private labs like his.
And he argues with Wu, right? Insisting he wants real dinosaurs, not improvements.
Yeah, claiming every genetic tweak was forced on them by law or necessity. But Wu sounds doubtful, questioning if recreating ancient life perfectly is even wise without fully understanding it.
So you've got the tech, the ambition, the corner cutting, this dangerous mindset, and the security systems meant to contain it all.
Like that motion sensor system, covering 92% of the park, designed to track everything.
But that 8% gap leaves room for error, doesn't it?
It sure does. And
Yeah.
the staff, they know the risks. Muldoon, the game warden, he's blunt about the velociraptors.
Calls them vicious, thinks they should all be destroyed, says they chewed off their radio collars already, resisting control from the start.
Even Arnold admits the park is inherently hazardous.
This is where Ian Malcolm's ideas become so critical. Chaos theory.
Explain that a bit, his core argument.
Basically that while complex systems like nature do have deep underlying order, even simple systems can behave in incredibly complex, unpredictable ways over time.
Like pool ball scattering. Or weather patterns.
Exactly. Or cotton prices, he mentions. You can maybe predict the next bounce, the next day's weather, but long term, total prediction, total control. It's an illusion. He says the dream of controlling everything is dead.
And he applied this directly to the park idea.
Oh, absolutely. He told Hammond years before that creating prehistoric animals on an island was fundamentally asking for trouble. He predicted problems.
Like what?
Well, deviations in how fit they'd be for the modern world, like a stegosaur struggling with today's era radiation levels. But crucially, he predicted the park just wouldn't be able to control the spread of life.
Life finds a way.
That's the essence of it. Life is dynamic, complex, it adapts, it escapes. You can't just contain it in the system like this and expect it to follow all your rules perfectly.
So the tour starts, and pretty quickly we see Malcolm's predictions starting to come true.
First, the Dilophosaurs. They learned management tried and failed to remove their poison sacs. Another failure of control.
Then the velociraptors. Grant immediately pegs them as pack hunters, instinct-driven ambush predators.
And that instinct pops up when Tim spots one, just randomly out in a field near the stegosaurs. Muldoon gets nervous, notes it's the first time visitors have been in that specific area.
A small change, an unexpected sighting. The system is already showing cracks.
But the big one, the first solid proof Malcolm was right.
Grant finds that eggshell. Large, flat, thick. He knows it's a dinosaur eggshell, maybe a raptor's.
Which totally contradicts the park's main safety measure that all the dinosaurs were engineered female so they couldn't breed.
Right. Harding, the vet, is standing right there insisting they can't breed, but Grant's holding the evidence.
That eggshell is everything. It proves their control is already broken. Life is finding a way. The whole foundation is shaky before the real chaos even begins.
And the catalyst for that chaos is Dennis Nedry.
The disgruntled programmer felt squeezed by InGen over costs. Then Dodgson from Biosyn offers him millions to steal the embryos.
So he sabotages the system, shuts down security, phones, everything critical to make his escape.
And bam, power goes out across the park. Arnold in the control room sees everything go to dark fences, lights, cameras. Even the tour vehicles just stop dead near the T-Rex paddock.
Radios are down too. They think it's the storm at first, but it's Nedry's shutdown.
Grant, Tim, and Lex are stuck in one of those Land Cruisers. And Ed Regis, the PR guy,
makes the fatal mistake of getting out. Then the T-Rex shows up.
the juvenile one, right? Breaks through the fence that just lost power.
Attacks the car. Grant barely gets the kids out. They hide. The book describes Regis just freezing, then shouting, and the T-Rex gets him. It's brutal.
A direct, horrific consequence of the system failing.
Grant and the kids are then on their own. Have to climb the broken fence, slide into this disgusting moat, climb out with a vine. Just pure survival mode.
Meanwhile, Muldoon and Gennaro find Malcolm, injured but alive, near the road, get him back to the lodge.
They also find Nedry's Jeep. And what's left of Nedry? The Cumpies got him.
Those little scavengers. Muldoon finds the embryo can, still intact. But what does he prioritize?
The weapons. The rocket launcher. Getting the embryos is secondary to getting armed. Tells you how bad things have gotten, how the priorities have shifted.
But there are other scary encounters too, right? Showing how unpredictable these animals are.
Yeah, the book details things like the pterodactyl attack and the aviary Lex actually saves them by throwing her baseball glove. And Grant getting delayed on the river by Dilophosaurs doing some kind of mating ritual. Stuff they just couldn't have planned for.
Back in the control room, Arnold finally figures out a huge problem.
Yeah, he finds this warning message he'd missed. When the main power went out, the backup generators kicked in, but they didn't have enough juice, enough amperage for the big electric fences.
So the system automatically
turned them off. They'd been off for hours, including the Velociraptor fences.
Muldoon's worst nightmare. And right around then, Wu makes the big discovery, biologically speaking.
He analyzes a sample, confirms what Grant suspected from the eggshell. All the dinosaurs that are breeding have frog DNA mixed in. Rana.
That was the missing piece. They used frog DNA to patch the gaps in the ancient code.
And some frogs can change sex in an all-female group. That trait carried over. Their failsafe failed because of an unforeseen biological consequence.
Wow. Okay, so the raptors are loose now, fences off.
And they head straight for the visitor center. Tim and Lex get trapped outside the control room when security doors lock down, part of Nedry's code still running.
Arnold realizes maybe some safety protocols, these key checks, could trace Nedry's sabotage, but too late for him. The raptors get him.
Grant, Muldoon, and Ellie get back, find the kids trapped, Arnold gone. They see the raptors. The book describes them jumping like 10 feet high onto railings. Terrifying agility.
Grant has to get the kids moving towards the lab, the hatchery.
Muldoon tries to create a diversion, draw the raptors away from the cafeteria, where Tim and Lex are frantically trying to get the main computers back online.
Wo's still on the radio, right? Guiding Grant.
Yeah, guiding him down to the generator room below the lab. Grant finds the fuel tanks one's empty, needs switching.
But the raptors attack the lab right above him while he's talking to Wu.
He gets trapped down there by one, Ellie's trapped somewhere else, Muldoon's out hunting them. It's pure chaos.
And this is when Malcolm gives that speech, right? Even injured.
Yeah, it's powerful. He compares scientific power to inherited wealth. You get it without necessarily earning the wisdom or discipline to handle it.
Unlike someone who worked hard for their skill or knowledge.
Exactly. He says reason is just a game when faced with true complexity. Chaos theory proves unpredictability is baked into life itself.
He declares at the end of the scientific era.
Yeah, the end of that dream of total control, of knowing everything. And that chilling line. The planet isn't in danger, we are in jeopardy. Our survival is threatened by what we've unleashed.
Heavy stuff. But Grant manages to turn things around down below.
He does. Switches the power, electrocutes the raptor, cornering him, and ups
Tim. He gets the main computer working again, restores park systems, locks the remaining raptors in.
Huge relief. But it's not over. Grant, Muldoon, Gennaro know the Costa Rican military is coming.
And Grant's worried they'll just bomb the island. Napalm, nerve gas, something drastic but maybe not effective.
Right. He insists they have to find the raptor nest themselves, destroy the eggs, make sure the threat is actually contained, not just scattered.
And he confronts Gennaro.
Yeah, really lays into him. Says he shirked responsibility all along, sold the idea without understanding it, didn't supervise Hammond, let him play with incredibly dangerous tech, tells him now he has to step up.
So Grant goes looking for the nest, using radio tracking. And he has this thought, right? About fossils.
Yeah, that fossils tell us a lot, but they don't show what nests really looked like. Another gap in their knowledge of the very life they recreated.
And Hammond, where's he in all this?
The book cuts to him. He fell, hurt his ankle, climbed a hill, but now he's dizzy, thirsty. A compy bit him, and the venom feels like a narcotic.
He's surrounded by them.
Yeah, throwing rocks to keep them back.
Mm.
And he has this moment of realization. The kids, his grandkids, they're his problem now, not just visitors. It's personal.
Wow. So the wrap-up, how does the immediate aftermath look?
The book gives a quick summary. 4 hours later, systems are back online, but out of 24 people on the island, 8 are dead, 6 missing.
Grim numbers.
Visitor center and lodge are secure. Help is on the way. But here's the kicker. The crew on the supply ship heading to the mainland.
Yeah.
They found 3 young raptors stowed away in a cargo hold. They killed them, but...
It proves Malcolm right again. The life did spread. It wasn't contained to the island.
Exactly. So looking back, the book is just this incredibly potent cautionary tale, isn't it? About the risks when science is driven purely by profit, done in secret, moving too fast.
Absolutely. Without real oversight, without a deep, humble respect for the complexity of what they're messing with.
It slams home the unpredictability of life. You can't just engineer complex creatures, especially using shortcuts like that frog DNA, and expect them to behave like machines.
That frog DNA detail is amazing. Such a small oversight with massive consequences. Proves they didn't fully understand the biology they were using.
And it all comes back to hubris, right? Believing you can have total control over nature. The ethical breakdown when ambition just tramples caution and respect for life.
Thinking of those animals as just versions with bugs, it perfectly captures that mindset that led Streak to disaster.
Yeah, this whole story just gives you so much to chew on. How quickly things fall apart when you push too hard against complex systems.
It really does. If you found this discussion valuable, digging into the ideas from the book, definitely check out Mindful Moments and our podcasts. We explore more stuff like this.
Yeah, more analysis, more critical thinking inspired by fascinating books.
And hey, if you want to really dive into this particular story yourself, please subscribe to our podcasts if you haven't already.
Share this episode with someone you think would find it interesting.
You can find a link to purchase the book in our show description. Reading it yourself adds a whole other layer. Your support helps us keep doing this.
Absolutely. And most importantly, just keep thinking critically about the world, especially with all the powerful tech emerging around us.
Couldn't agree more.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of building on Malcolm's whole point about control being an illusion.
Okay.
If that unpredictability is just baked into reality, into nature, into the complex systems we create, how should we be approaching powerful new technologies? What kind of discipline, what kind of sacrifice, maybe what level of humility is actually needed before we unleash the next big thing?